Hello, it's good to be with you today. A reading from Isaiah 41. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. The number one thing I hear from family, friends, and St. Mark's members lately is, this is getting really old. This is getting old. This being, of course, COVID-19, being all the things that we wanted to do that have been canceled or postponed. This being our fear of going outside our homes and being overwhelmed from staying home. This is getting old. This not knowing will we be back to any kind of normal next week, next month, maybe next year. It's getting old. We know what it is to have this sense. We're tired of being too cautious, and then we're afraid if we're too risky, we'll put ourselves or someone we love in danger. This is getting old. There's times in our lives, even when there isn't a worldwide pandemic, where we just feel like everything that's thrown at us is too big for us to deal with. And we're just so tired. We're weary. William Faulkner wrote in the book, The Wild Palms. It's a specific scene in there, but I think we can all relate to it. He writes, he would have to get up sometime, he knew that, just as all of life consists of having to get up sooner or later, and then having to lie down again sooner or later after a while. He was not exactly exhausted, he was not particularly without hope, and he did not especially dread getting up. It merely seemed to him that he had accidentally been caught in a situation in which time and environment, not himself, was mesmerized. He is being toyed with by a current of water going nowhere, beneath a day which would wane toward no evening. When it was done with him, it would spew him back into the comparatively safe world he had been snatched violently out of, and in the meantime, it did not much matter just what he did or did not do. We kind of have that sense now in this time of limbo, when we can't be together in worship, we can't gather together for celebrations, we're scared to go out, and we're overwhelmed from staying inside. This feeling, this sense is really a part of faith in life, and we don't like it. We've never liked it. Never in history have people liked it. We as Lutherans have read, studied, heard sermons about theology of the cross, and we believe it. We say it's a part of who we are, but believing it and living it are not the same thing. Or maybe they are. Maybe it's the honesty of admitting we are struggling, we're overwhelmed, we're afraid. We want it to change right now. Not tomorrow, not a year from now, right now. Maybe that's exactly what theology of the cross is in practice. Naming the suffering. Not moving away from it, but naming it and trusting that God is with us. Luther would say a theologian of the cross looks at all things through suffering and the cross. That suffering for us right now includes a worldwide pandemic. Thousands of years of us still trying to figure out how to love our neighbor as oneself. Dealing with anxiety, dealing with illness, wishing our life were not what it is right now, and fear of the unknown. In spite of tears and pain and death, somewhere we believe that the God who made us is not dependent on our moods and attitudes to be right or proper or correct. This faith is not a self-improvement program. There's no climbing some spiritual ladder. What we trust, even when we can't believe it, is that God is constantly coming to us, always with us, always a part of our lives. Somehow through the darkest days and the sleepless nights, somehow we find grace even as the tears are streaming down our faces, and we find God is with us in the suffering. And time and again we're surprised, because we've had our moments of shaking our fists at God, of yelling at God for abandoning us, of doubting that God even exists, and somehow, even if we don't believe it, there's a trust in us. A trust like a healthy relationship between a parent and child, that parent will take care of us. Often it's in these broken places, these darkest spaces, that we find sacredness, that we find solid ground. We're surprised each and every time that these dark spaces could be holy ground. It's impossible for me to talk about hopelessness and not quote Barbara Brown Taylor. Her words: I use the word sacred to describe something that grounds me in this world and opens me to another world all at the same time. Oceans usually do it, especially in the middle of summer storms. The kindness of strangers does it. Getting sick does it, especially if I'm so sick that I cannot do anything for myself. Being present at the birth of a new human being does it. I use the words holy and divine to describe the same phenomenon. They almost always involve the sense that there is a witness to my life, a consciousness that is for me in the best situations, but also with me in the worst. Where this sacredness is working around the clock to make life out of death for me and for every other living being. What I have are richer relationships with people of many faiths and none who are willing to feel their way along with me, although neither of us knows for sure where we're going. The uncertainty causes us to take great comfort in each other's company. It also seems to make us braver. I was asked what inspires you. My answer: the music of Bach, the students in my class, the Dingle Peninsula in Ireland, my sister's courage in the face of stage 4 cancer, 3 shelves of poetry in my library, a really good dinner party, the regular return of spring, watching chicks peck their way out of eggs, the view from my front porch, losing 5 pounds, watching my Jack Russell Terrier chase a deer with confidence he can catch it, though he never has, and seeing my 79-year-old husband perform a perfect Warrior 3 pose in yoga class. What inspires you, even now, especially now? Isaiah 43, I have called you by name, you are mine. I'd like to close with a prayer from the book Ashes and Starlight. When I'm in the messy middle of something is the name of the prayer. Let us pray. Slow and steady God, things have changed, and I know they're not done changing. I'm here at your potter's wheel where you're shaping my essence into something new with guiding, loving hands. But this messy middle time, it's painful and scary and hard. The wheel spins and my world swirls, and all I want is to see the end result. Becoming the broken down lump of clay was a hard stage too, I might add. Help me, God, commit to the process, not the outcome. Help me embrace the messy middle time when I must make space for shifts and questions. Change my mantras from clarity to exciting ambiguity, definition to open-endedness, certainty to awe-filled surprises, timeline to trust. Change spacing too. Help me believe, Lord, that even what seems to be negative change makes room in me and around me for something fresh and good. You hum a tune of possibility and potential as you work. With each move of your hand, you mutter, beautiful, 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 and you smile. Amen.